on the Chicago Police Department, and less than 4,000 of them are black. But yet, it's disturbing to me that the racial makeup is not balanced on the police department, and our young teenagers, and we have some gang problems, we have some drug problems, but every teenager out there is not a gangbanger. Every black and Hispanic teenager out there is not a drug dealer. I'm so tired of driving through my community, through the 34th Ward, and I drive down the street and I see white police officers got young black teenagers spread over cars, searching them, and then letting them go. Just because they black and just because they teenagers, they're being harassed by the police department, by the police officers. I don't drive through white neighborhoods and suburban neighborhoods and see white teenagers walking down the street and being spread eagle against police cars just because they teenagers. But we go through black and Hispanic communities and we see black teenagers, what is equivalent, being harassed by the police because they're black. I was driving down the street in my community on 113th and Whitworth, and there was a police officer in front of me driving about 3 miles an hour, and I was behind him, and we got to 115 in Whitworth, and there was a black young man walking down the street, and the police officer pulled over to the side, waved him to the car, and I went past him, but I wanted to see what was going to happen. I turned back around, went through the alley, turned back around and sat there. They had the brother spread on the car, took his coat off and everything, then gave it back to him and walked him down the street. And I had one of my cameras in the car with me, and by the time I turned around, I went looking for that brother. By the time I turned around and got where he was gone. But I wanted to interview him to tell why the police pulled him over and what his experience was, because I wanted to put it on this show and let you see. Our teenagers are being harassed in their own community just because they're teenagers, not because they're gangbangers, not because they're drug dealers, just because they black teenagers by the Chicago Police Department. What does Phil Klein has to say? I'm sure the mayor kids don't get harassed. I'm sure Phil Klein kids don't get harassed just because they black, just because they Hispanic. Something's wrong. And nobody's speaking out. I have a right as a citizen in this city and in this country to walk down the street with dignity as a young man and a young woman and not be stopped by the police because I'm black. And it's assumed because I'm black that I deal drugs. It's assumed because I'm black that I'm a gangbanger. You have constitutional rights. You cannot stop and detain someone just because they black. You can't do that. So then, when we look at this situation, if you create jobs and after-school programs in our communities, you would not have gangs and drug problems like you have and seniors living in fear. The problem that we have in our inner-city communities that an economic embargo has went on in our communities. And they're not letting the flow of the wealth come into our community. Consequently, we can drive down the Dan Ryan Expressway and see hundreds and millions of dollars of construction. Hundreds of millions, not thousands, millions of dollars in construction going on the Dan Ryan Expressway, the heart of the black community. And you can go up I-80 and see millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in construction going on the I-80 Expressway, the Bishop Ford, and you don't see no black contractors out there. That's not by coincidence, that's by design, because blacks have been shut out of government contracts on the state level, on the federal level, on the county level, and on the city level. Consequently, we're not getting those jobs. These are union jobs, and somebody needs to stand up and challenge the unions to find out how many blacks are in the unions. If you want union jobs, if you want us to be friendly to unions, then some black leadership will have to stand up and challenge why blacks and minorities are not getting these union jobs. If they're going to take on city and state contracts. We need state legislative and city aldermen and county commissioners to write a law that says these unions have to open up their employment to blacks and Hispanics. And if they don't open up Hispanics, if they don't open up contracts, if they don't open up and let blacks and Hispanics in the union, then we're going to have to reshape the way we deal with unions. We're going to have to reshape it. See, somebody got to speak out and challenge this. See, blacks are shut out because we sit down. And we got black leadership that sits down. When you got a $6 billion budget, $100 million, $99 million a day being spent by the Chicago Police Department, and we're underrepresented as police officers on the police force. We're underrepresented of the contractors that get these contracts from the police department that supply the cars, the uniform, the pants, the pencils, the handcuffs, the radios, and all these things to the police department. We're underrepresented. And then you got a Chicago Fire Department that has over 3,000 firefighters on the Chicago. You go understand when I tell you that an economic embargo has been imposed in our communities, and we're not even getting on the city payroll. And then you take city colleges. It turns over millions of dollars in contracts each year, millions. And you got a black chancellor, and the blacks are not even getting city colleges contracts. See, what we're going to have to stand up. As soon as y'all elect me alderman, see, this show going to keep going on when I become alderman, and I'm going to have a regular show that's going to deal with what's not taking place in city government. Because, see, when I get in there, I'm going to pull every contract of every city, state, and county gives, and I'm going to tell you what percentage of blacks are getting these contracts, and I'm going to keep you informed. I'm going to tell you what percentage of blacks are getting these jobs, and I'm going to keep you informed. And the next time you go to vote, you go make these Negroes sit down at the table, and you go make them tell the mayor what he's going to do for the blacks and the Hispanic community. Because I'm going to make you think. I'm going to tell you how the Board of Education has a $5 billion budget, and it has the power to levy taxes at its will. And I'm going to tell you how they're wasting money, how the Board of Education is wasting millions of dollars every day. You know, I sat on the local school council, and I saw the budgets when I served 2 terms on the local school council at West Pullman Elementary School, right in my 34th ward, where I'm